Hey guys, I've just been thinking about doing this video for a couple of days now. Probably could have done it a bit earlier, but just been rather busy. A lot has been said about Eddie Jones and the way he's picked his squad and how they've headed to France and what they've done there in picking their squad, leaving out a couple of guys. And there's a lot of people with these clashes with the journalists keep on saying, has Eddie lost it? And my first answer would be no. No, he hasn't. I think Eddie's a cunning, shrewd man. I think he's a character in rugby, and I think he's a guy who likes to sort of manipulate things to his favour. He likes to, keep people talking. And as I said, the first thing that he probably has done by doing all this, and you think with a young Wallaby squad that he's picked, going into a World Cup where probably no one in Australia is giving them any chance, what he's done is he's taken all the focus off those young players and he's put it on himself. That's Eddie tactic number one. He does that a lot. He likes to he likes the limelight. He likes to spar with journalists and make some weird comments that he knows will go viral. And certainly, play mind games. He loves doing that, and we'll see a lot of that in this World Cup as well. But he's taken all the pressure onto himself, and he quite enjoys that, and kept all the pressure off his young players, because nobody's talking about the young squad at the moment. Everybody's talking about Eddie and what he's saying, and I think he quite prefers it that way. And I think we'll see a lot more of that going into this World Cup. But let's go through it. I mean, we had that first clash there in Loftus, and we all saw that, with his reaction to Ken Borland's question. Let's watch it again just to remind you.
Eddie, you expressed your disappointment during the week that you weren't playing the first choice Springbok side.
Well, I
changed a bit of relief now?
No. I'll tell you what, you are good at it, mate. South Africans are good at winning.
Eddie, you took a team to...
So you don't have to be a smart ass, mate.
Eddie, so you took a team to Carisbrooke many years ago after you defeated Loftus. Are you looking for a similar performance next time?
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll bounce back. I've got no doubt that we'll bounce back. Like, we were well and truly beaten today by a Springbok side that old mate's calling the B team, right? So I never knew there was a Springbok side that was called the B team. But now we have a new term. So we weren't good enough. So we've got to front up next week. That's the only thing.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
And you don't have to be a smart ass, mate. You don't have to be.
I love you, Eddie, but
You should have more respect, mate. You should have more respect. Well, I didn't. I never said that. I said we always want to play the best. You don't have to be a smart ass. Show some respect.
Kenny, what did you say?
Okay, what did you say?
Beating.
No, I didn't see too much in that clash, to be very honest. I thought it was, Eddie, the smart ass thing got a lot of publicity, but Eddie was a bit thin under the collar there, and I think he was looking for a way of deflecting from a big defeat. He's since had 3 more big defeats against Argentina and 2 against New Zealand, so there has been a bit of pressure. Then he picked a team that obviously left out Quade Cooper, Michael Hooper, and then Ekitown. There's a story going around it. Michael Hooper didn't take his call when he phoned him as well. So obviously Michael Hooper, 100-test veteran, quite upset about that. And so you can understand there's been a lot of talking points in Australian rugby. But you got to wonder, the way he's positioned that squad. He's obviously taken a very young squad, and he believes he can mould them into a lot of success. And so, the other day, I first had a chat. Let's first go to the way he reacted to some of the journos in the airport at Sydney. He got very upset with them and told them they're negative, and that's what's wrong with Australian rugby. I don't think it's really the thing. I think there's obviously a lot of shock with the squad he picked, and with the guys been around like Michael Hooper to leave him out. Eddie sort of, almost made that the focus, and you can't be upset when journos ask those questions. I don't think the journos were overly negative, but I think there is a worry with that young team that they think they might not do well in the World Cup, and that's generally fine to ask that. But this is how Eddie reacted at the airport.
Moved on. That's all been done and dusted. We've moved on. If the players are unhappy about the selection process, so be it. We're moving on to a new young squad that's going to take Australian rugby forward. And you've got to understand that what we've had here over the last 8 years hasn't been good enough. hasn't been good enough, and we want the opportunity for these young players to go forward. So I'm disappointed if the players upset, but all I can do is ring them.
So no
And if
Bolters.
they don't take your phone call, you can't talk to them.
No, but that would suggest a communication breakdown, right?
Why? If I ring them and they won't ring back, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Tell me. Well, why keep asking about it? No different, mate.
No difference.
You just got to play each game as it comes. I can't believe the level of negativity here, boys.
Okay, what about the Matildas then?
Fantastic.
Here's a positive question for you. How do you take inspiration from a female football team?
Well, you take inspiration by the way they've lit up Australian society. Done something fantastic, giving young kids the opportunity to play it. Now, I know what's wrong with Australian rugby, and part of you blokes are the problem because you're so bloody negative about everything.
I wasn't negative.
So negative about everything. Okay, so we're going off to the World Cup. You think we can't win? You think the selection process is bad because the players can play. So I apologise for that. So we'll go out there and do our best, boys. It's all about the timing. It's about the level of tactical influence you put into your team, and you build that up as you go along. But I know you blokes think we can't do any good, so don't ask any questions, boys. Just be the pessimist you are. Keep Australian rugby where it's been. Keep it where it's been. Complain about players that don't get selected. Keep doing about that because it's fantastic, because we love it.
I don't think it's a reflection of just the media. I think if you go into a World Cup campaign losing 4 straight games under a new coach,
Yeah, no,
but it's, I think some of
100%.
these questions are relevant.
100%.
So-
We haven't been good enough. Keep going, mate. I love this negativity. It's fantastic. I love it. Keep going.
It's not negative,
Keep going.
It's not negative to ask.
Keep going.
What was the real? What did you see the difference by coming
Oh,
together?
nothing, mate. We're terrible. You know we're terrible. Just tell us we're terrible, and we'll prove you wrong.
So while that stole the show for a couple of weeks, a couple of days again with the headlines of Australia going off to Sydney, Eddie was in the talking points worldwide with that, and obviously a lot of people, a lot of the UK journos that don't enjoy Eddie. I still think he's a character. I think he can be abrasive at times, but I do think he's good for rugby and good in selling the game. Not always what you want to hear, but that's fine. It's Eddie. That's the way he is. So the other night I bumped into Jake White at the Hall of Fame function with the box, and I asked him what does he reckon his mate Eddie's doing, and this was Jake's answer.
Well, I mean, also I was going to ask you, your mate Eddie has also been heavily criticised. He's obviously picked his squad. Do you also see him picking a squad for the next World Cup rather than this one, that younger squad?
Yeah, Brent, I've got no doubt. I mean, he's obviously got a contract till the 27 World Cup. They're going to host it. They got the Lions there in 2 years' time. I think he's obviously, if you read, I mean, being in coaching, he's basically brought in so many new caps into this World Cup. I think what he's trying to do is blood them for the Lions, then blood them again for the next World Cup. And if they do well, it'll be a bonus. If they don't do well, then some of them will drop out. If they're competitive, some of them will stay. And it gives Eddie a chance to then build his own team. I think he's realised after 4 games that keeping the players who are inherited, to him, are not the ones he wants. And there's no use taking them to a World Cup and not winning it, and then you've spent spend another 3 months, whatever, on a group that you're not necessarily going to build with.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think Jake's got a point. I think Eddie's looking at it this way. If you look at their group, they've got their biggest game in that group is going to be Wales. They've got Georgia that they're going to play against as well, in Fiji, and I think they feel they can beat both Georgia and Fiji. So they'll get out of the group. If they beat Wales, they'll top the group. Then they get into a quarterfinal, and that quarterfinal will be either against England or Argentina, probably. And I think they feel they could probably win that one as well with this group that they've got. And if he does that, it's a semi-final, and the semi-final, as Jake points out, is a very good result for these guys. Then he takes the same group through for the next 2 years, and he plays them and has the Lions tour coming in 2 years' time, and then a home World Cup in 2027. in Australia, which the team's been together literally for 4 or 5 years, and he'll feel he can probably win the home World Cup on home soil. So I don't think it's a bad plan. I think if he gets anything more, it's a bonus. But I think that's the way Eddie's probably calculated it. So he hasn't lost it, in my opinion. He's been rather shrewd, although he's probably given up this World Cup knowing that even if he had those other stars, he probably wouldn't be able to win this World Cup in France. So he's made that tough decision. It's always going to be tough when you drop experienced players. But yeah, he won't be the first or the last coach to do that, and live by the sword, die by the sword for Eddie. So I think we're going to see it. Although, obviously the big caveat is that this team needs to at least make it out of the group. And if they don't make it out of the group, then obviously these things fall apart. But I think Australia's got enough talent there, and if they play well, and obviously as long as the players are happy and the camp is happy, then that'll be a good thing for them. But I think there's a lot of despondency in Australian rugby, and maybe not quite warranted. They're a lot better than they reckon they are. People reckon they are, and I could see them easily going through to the semi-finals, maybe quarterfinals, semi-finals for them. They've got a very easy draw. If you look at the draw on the other side, what the Springboks would have to face and what France and New Zealand have to face, it's a very different thing to facing Georgia, Fiji, Wales, getting out there, and Portugal, I think, is the other team in their group as well. So getting out of that group, and then either England or Argentina, or maybe another team, but certainly not one of the top 4 teams, and you only hit the top 4 team in the semi-final. So I think that's the method to Eddie's madness, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Anyway, let me know what you think about Eddie's his utterances and his thing. Is he good for the game? Is he bad for the game? Do you quite enjoy it? A lot of people enjoy it when Eddie loses, or he loses it like that. But let me know, and leave your comments. It's always good to see. But if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. Cheers.